Welcome to Still Standing TV show. I'm your host, Nikyra McCann, and today our guest is Wanda Smith of Peace Network Inc. We will be talking about the importance of mental health and mental wellness. So first, I'll just sort of say a little bit about myself. As you know, I was diagnosed with a mental illness at the age 20 years old. I remember times being in isolation in a mental institution for 18 hours, delusional, out of my mind, confused. And so I had my mother. This is my mother, Wanda Smith. She has sort of been my advocate over these last 15 years of being diagnosed. And if it wasn't for her help and her support, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I've been in recovery for 5 years, doing everything I need to do as a woman. And, each day I'm getting better and better. But I wanted us to talk about the importance of mental health and mental wellness. So I just want to thank you, right, for all the times that you fought for me and the times that you went into the courtroom, you went into the systems of depression that had me bound and hoped for me to get better. So if you can just speak a little to that, that would be awesome.
Wow, that's amazing. I remember, man, as I think about over the years, I remember that that first episode you had, right? And I remember looking for you because you kind of moved in the same complex with me, with your boyfriend, and we was. We was close, and for a couple of days, I was wondering, I hadn't heard from you, and calling around, like nobody had seen you. So I became, concerned, because I didn't. Like see this coming on, right? Because you were staying with your boyfriend, things was going okay, and you had never came in my presence that I could see you, right? What was going on, and so then I get a call from the Dane County Jail and said, "Oh, your daughter do you have a daughter named Nicole McCann?" And I was like, "No, I have a daughter named Nikyra." Well, she's here in the Dane County Jail, and she got arrested for trying to break in somebody's car or something like that, or screaming outside and trying to get in somebody's car. And I was like, so that was the first sign of advocacy, like really advocating for my own family when I'm working in the mental health, working as a mental health specialist in Merida Hospital, working with, people from a diverse culture, and then this happens to my child. It became personal, and it kind of like stabbed me in my heart, like, oh man. So it became an urgent cry and a need to start giving you the supportive services needed as well. And so I immediately started connecting with your hospital, the jail, to get you to the hospital and out of the criminal justice system, because there was no supportive services to support you at that time.
Yeah, and I thank you, right? Because I think how, and by you advocating for me, now today I can advocate for others, right? So I think of how so many people fall through the cracks and don't receive the right supportive services, and they're in jail when they should be in a mental institution. So now today I am the board vice president for NAMI Dane County, and I do have my business Still Standing Enterprise that we'll talk about a little later. But I just know and I see that there is just this urgent need. There's this urgent matter at hand with mental health, and especially since COVID, right? Everyone is just sort of really going through emotionally, lost a lot of people, family. So I'm just grateful for your help as well. So.
Yeah, we talk about COVID, right? We talk about the pandemic, but this has been going on way before COVID ever hit, because there's been other pandemics that has been in place that have caused the same mental health stress and illness upon people as well. And yeah, COVID has brought on, other things, but I think we use COVID as a cover up for a lot of things that has already been surfaced, right?
Yeah.
And so, and just knowing that the ultimate the stress of life, and knowing that mental illness, the contributing factor to any mental illness in my research is stress. Learning to balance your stress, because at any time when I was a mental health specialist at Merida Hospital, I mean, I had, and the stigma of it is, or the thinking that it's a certain culture or it's a certain, no, it can happen to anybody at any time. And so I work with, as a mental health, working in the adult psychiatric unit, I work with psychiatrists who were my patients. Yeah.
Yeah, so we will touch more on this.
Yes.
We will be right back. Please continue watching. Welcome back to Still Standing TV show. Again, I am your host, Nikyra, and today our guest is Wanda Smith of Peace Network Inc. So, Wanda, you were just making a good point. You were saying how you've seen a lot of different sort of people in the mental institution. So, speak a little bit about that.
Yeah, I said, it's not a respecter of person. Mental illness is not a respecter of person, so it can happen to anybody. At any given time. It can come from a tragedy, it can come from stress, it can come from, anything that life brings our way. Yeah, when I was the mental health specialist, I mean, I had, psychiatrists, graduate students, nurses, just anybody that was in the hospital that were overwhelmed with whatever, the cares of life. And at the time, and it was a diverse group of people, and of different ages, and I was really, and during that time I was also in college too. No, I had just got out of college working on my BA, so I landed this job. And so the thing about it was, this was in 2008. The research suggested that mental illness would be the #1 disability in 2020. So the research was right on point, right? And growing, right? 1 in 5, people will deal with mental health challenges. I'm not going to say illness because people are not always ill. Just like people that get a headache. Right, you're symptomatic, and then you take your Tylenol or whatever, or it just goes away automatic, or you take your medication and eventually it goes away. You're not always sick, right? So I look at it like that. So I'm gonna say I call it mental health issues, right? And so and we could solve a lot of those mental health issues by supportive services.
Yeah, so let's talk about your supportive services that you offer through Peace Network Inc.
Wow, Peace Network Inc. Check out our website, www.peacenetworkinc.com. I was just updating my website today. We offer an array of services, from community services to mental health services to case management, housing services, one-on-one groups, workshops, seminars, motivational speaking, you name it. I've trust me. I was just in the Teen Summit, up in Teen Summit at the Dells with I think we had 500 or 600 kids up there, and I did a workshop on Your Voice Matters. Teaching young people how to use their voice. And really, young people is really my passion, because I believe if we instill supportive services into young people, we can help keep them from having breakdowns ongoing. Because a lot of kids in my that I do, I have done stress management assessments and anger and all of this, and they really have it. And we think that kids don't get stressed out, that they're not angry, and they, all of these things, and they don't, but they do. They have a lot on their plate. It's just a different level of, or different issues that they're dealing with than adults.
Yeah. And one thing I had, and tell me how you feel about this. Not everyone will experience a mental illness, but we all have mental health, right? Mental health circumstances, mental health depression, or feelings of down, or different things like that. But not everyone will experience a mental illness.
Right. I think that that's a good point to make. We all have a mental health issue, right? We all have a mental health, something that lays on our mental health and overwhelms us, and right. But the difference is this: a person that has, we all have mental health days and breakdowns and breakthroughs and all of that. But if you have symptoms that are lasting for more than 30 days, then it becomes, everybody go through depression. We all go through sadness and all of that, ups and downs. But it lasts for more than 3 or 4 weeks, then it's time to get some help, Or it's a difference in somebody just feeling down today because of something, some bad news or whatever happened, or whatever, something challenging happened that it was too much for them to handle. They take a time out, they take a break, work on their own self-care, their mental health. But when it lasts for too long and then it becomes symptomatic, that becomes obvious that that person needs to get some supportive services or need to be assessed for a mental health breakdown. Because sometimes it could be a breakdown, right? And not an ongoing illness. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah.
Yeah, that is a great point. And with my own personal experience, I just remember the trauma, right, that it also causes. The trauma, the after effect of the trauma of being in isolation, that can definitely take a toll and weigh in on people also as they continue into their future. So I just thank you for speaking to that fact, and we will be right back, and we thank you for joining us today. Welcome back to Still Standing TV show. I am your host, Nikyra McCann, and we have Wanda Smith here today. We're learning so much, and it's so good to sort of, speak of this wisdom of mental health. And you spoke of your business, Peace Network Inc. I wanted to just speak a little of my business. So, as I said, I was diagnosed with a mental illness at the age 20, and I've been in recovery for 5 years. So then 2021, I established Still Standing Enterprise. And now I'm a mental wellness agency, and I offer workshops and seminars on mental health, mental wellness at libraries. And also, I am now a provider with Dane County CCS, helping clients with an array of services to help them to get well in their mental health as well. So why do you feel that mental, it's important to get help? Because some people don't get help. Some people think that they're fine, they don't need the help. Some people use alcohol, some people use drugs to sort of cover up their hurt and their pain. So why do you believe that it's important for people to get the help that they need?
I think it's important for people to get the help that they need, because then you don't have all these alcoholics and drug addicts and all of these shootings and all of this violence that's going on. Because really, it's the negative part of having this a mental health issue, right? But there's a good positive side of having one as well, getting a supportive services needed so you can break down that barrier of having to go to the negative side of healing. You get on the positive side of healing. I believe in medication. I believe in the God of medication. I believe that God is a God of medicine. So I'm not against medication, but I'm against medication without therapy, without group therapy. I think that even though you get medicine, people need to talk some stuff out in those group sessions, and that's really the empowerment of the group session. Not just having the medication and just still holding everything in, and not really getting the healing that you need, but getting in those circles and having somebody to talk to will help bring healing to your mind, body, and soul.
Thank you.
Yeah, and also you did mention that you did not mention as a you as a CCS provider, and you are the CEO of Still Standing Enterprise, and you also hired me as your skill developer to work with you in the field. So I'm excited about that. That's really ironic when I think about that, right? Like you hired me, really, and so after everything that you have been through it, and me being there to support you along the way and learning so much. I feel like you're just another Wanda Smith. I feel like you've been trained well, but also you have lived experience, and that is better than any training that ever exists in the world. And you've lived through it. I've lived through it because I've watched you. When a person has mental health issues or illnesses or being committed into the mental institution, the whole family suffers. The whole family is affected, right? And so that's the painful part of it. And I'm grateful to God that He gave me the grace to had the skills and the patience and the knowledge. And that's why I started my business back in 2010. After all of this started, I was working in the mental health institution. I was working in Merida Adult Psychiatric Unit, and I got inspired, and then you got sick, and then I said, I'm going to create my own mental health services, and that's when I created Peace Network, Inc. And over the years, we've supported thousands of men, women, and children who have been through, some of my support groups, Can We Talk, some of Ladies of Excellence Girls support groups. Some of my girls are going on to college now. I'm so inspired, and some of them call me up or text me and say, hey, it's because of you, Miss Wanda. Like when I was 9 years old, and now I'm 20. It's just amazing what supportive services can do, or a positive person that will intervene in your life and be patient and just listen to you.
Yes. And you have definitely been that person in my life, right? I remember times having to call home from the mental institution, and my family, my brother, never missed a call. And they always tried to come visit me. You always tried to come visit me when I was in a mental institution. And I am forever grateful for that, because if it wasn't for that support, the support of my family, the support of my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister, my nieces, my nephews, I wouldn't be who I am. And because I am who I am today, I can reach back and help someone else. So I thank you. So thank you so much for joining us. We will be right back. Thank you for joining us on Still Standing TV show. Again, I'm Nikyra, McCann, and today we have Miss Wanda Smith. So, Miss Wanda, there's one thing that we didn't touch base on. You are in school.
Yes.
A graduate student to be a psychologist. Let's just sort of speak about that. How's that experience? What new information, new wisdom are you learning in your experience?
I'm excited at 58 while being in graduate school, and my degree is in industrial organizational psychology, because my ultimate goal is to work with corporations and churches to help them restructure and get policies and leadership training in place to deal with human behaviors. And so that's what really industrial organization is, going into workplaces, helping human resources, deal with how they, I'm going to save people a lot of lawsuits, I'll say that, because I want to show them, I've learned so much about diversity, equity, and inclusion. When I talk about diversity, diversity means respect everybody. I learned that, right? Equity means everybody has equal access. Inclusion is everybody is included. So all of these diversity, equity, and inclusion policies and procedures and all of this stuff that they have in place that's really not being implemented correctly, I want to go into those spaces and help them restructure their whole policies on how to deal with a diverse group of people, and how to return your staff, and how to and how your company can become well with the right resources and the right people in place for longevity.
Yeah, and that's awesome, that you want to do that, because I believe, even in the workplace, a lot of employees experience mental health circumstances of their own, and just to sort of have that information and that knowledge in the workplace will definitely go a long way and provide resources for those companies as well.
Yeah, because I want to make sure that they know how to deal with people with mental health issues, as well with diversity, equity, and inclusion, and really, really understanding what that really means, and not just having it on paper, but have it implemented correctly.
That's awesome. So thank you for all of your work, and we're looking forward to your graduation and getting your work going after you graduate. So one other thing that I wanted us to talk about today, we've talked about mental health, mental wellness, the importance of mental health. And so what are some ways, or what are some things that people can do? Who can they reach out to if they need help in their community, if they need these resources, and hey, they feel like they're alone? Who can they turn to? Where can they go?
Wow, they can always call Peace Network Inc. We're out here on our website, www.peacenetworkinc.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter as well. You have a lot of organizations. We have NAMI out here. We got Still Standing Enterprise out here. We have Journey Mental Health out here. There's a lot of resources out here, and let them know they are not alone. And everybody at some point in time will have a mental health crisis. But we help at Peace Network Inc. help them heal and deal with mental health crisis that they get on a daily basis, because there's crisis every day, a mental health crisis every day. And so not just focusing on the problems, but focus on solutions to the problem.
Yeah, and even with mental health crisis, it can happen by losing someone you love, or losing a pet, or, just life experiences that can bring on depression or anxiety, or, it doesn't necessarily have to be a mental health episode where you have to go to a mental institution. But I believe that, we do experience these feelings at time, and it's good to know that there are resources and services out here to help us get well.
Right, yeah. People can lose their jobs, lose loved ones, array of things that bring on mental health crisis in our lives. And I call it crisis. I don't want to call it an illness, because the illness doesn't last always. A crisis, is something that happens and we can address it, right? And so sort of like a crisis response team within itself, right? And so reaching out through those crises and hearing the cries of the people who need it. And that's the thing. And I think the system is so overloaded with all of the phone calls and all of the number of people that need services. That's why it will take a village. It will take all of us. It will take people that look like you, people that look like me, people that look like a diverse culture of people, because there's a need across the board. Everybody needs mental health services.
Yes, that is.
From the pulpit to the back door, everybody needs it.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. And thank you for joining here today, all of this wealth of knowledge and wisdom, and you've given me more information that I can continue into my recovery. And I also wanted to thank Governor Evers for making this year in Wisconsin the year of mental health. So thank you, Governor Evers, and we just thank you for joining us here today, and we hope you've learned a lot of information.